agenda is Mr. Chinberg for the properties at the Sanborn Seminary. Would like to.
Yeah, he's trying to cut things late.
Okay, did you want to go do something else before?
What are we waiting on?
He said you knew about 10 minutes late.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that.
It's all right. I can start the presentation if that's okay.
We can wait. I got a couple of things we can go over before that.
Okay.
If that's better.
That's
We have a driveway permit that needs to come to this board. Mainly it's for Penniman Grove. And if anybody, I don't know if you're familiar with Penniman Grove, but it goes in and goes to the right. And there's a right of way that goes to the left that they want to pave for the house there, which Rich Sandler has no problem with, but we have to technically give them permission because they're paving town property. And we're gonna give her a letter acknowledging that it's town property and everything else.
Is there any potential conflict in that with other abutters
No,
to the property?
no. Because the right of way is to get to the water and it shows the road going down to the water, which it does not. Rich didn't think it was an issue. He just said it was formality to come here.
I guess my only hesitation would be when we've allowed people to utilize town property, we've had them in here and kind of discussed our expectations of it, like that one on
So you want to bring her in?
Great Pond Park
Yeah.
where we went out and
Okay.
saw it.
That's fine.
Like, we did a hearing just to make sure that the neighbors were okay with it. Like, the one at Great Pond Park, they just wanted their access maintained.
Okay. And then quick update on the book count. We're down to 153
left.
left.
That's not bad.
And that basically, as somebody said the other night, that's to last for the next 23 years. 23 years.
Let's hope they don't take that long to sell.
Well, we want to keep some, not 153, but we want a few for the future. The books are all back in this building other than the few that the Historic District kept and the library has. And they're going to be moved to a safe place within Town Hall.
Okay.
So that's that. I don't think I have anything else. Oh, I do have a saddle up update.
For public session?
Yeah, they basically had most of the inspectors down there the other night and went through, or the other day and went through everything, and they're proceeding with everything they need to do. He sent in an extension for his bond today, which has been a big holdup. Asked for 30 more days because the town didn't accept the first bond he did, and he's redoing it. But part of his argument for an extension was that it took almost 6 weeks from the time the date was set to get the bond amount, so he didn't get to start on it, but he's underway. And everybody witnessed the axe throwing room is gone. The smoking thing is gonna be set up and everybody's okay with everything.
Cigar room?
Yeah, fire gave him a list of things he has to do for that. But he's proceeding with everything.
So the axe throwing never went anywhere.
That's gone. Yeah, never.
That had a long shelf life, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, pool tables and alcohol don't mix. I can't picture axes and alcohol mixing.
Just don't watch the Game of Thrones, that's all.
Yeah. Ready? Is that who you're waiting on?
I move that we open up, make a motion, Susan. I move that we open the public hearing for regulations, discussion on the symbol.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Noes? Motion carries.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We're here to present for the second hearing related to the Selectmen E for Sandpoint Zoning Project. Would like to speak to the application. I believe you guys have the application in front of you. I have some renderings here for some conceptual renderings and the conceptual site plan here if you guys would like to see that as well, just for discussion's sake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we developed these perspective renderings in consultation with the HDC in scoping the project. And it's through that process and our concurrent effort to price the project that we came to the realization that renovating the science building was economically not feasible, and we were unable to get the economies of scale required to make the project work with the ultimate goal of saving the seminary building as a historic structure. So this rendering, or these renderings, show a conceptual new building in the place of the science building, and that is what precipitated a rejection letter being provided to us saying that we needed to reapply for 79E as the scope had significantly changed from our prior approval, in that the prior approval granted historic relief for the renovation of the science building, which is now proposed to be demolished and replaced with a replacement structure, which is still eligible for 79E relief, but not eligible for the historic component. So essentially the new application reflects that process in this rendering and site plan in front of you. In consultation with the HDC, they wanted to see a campus-like site plan. They acknowledged that there used to be historic buildings around the perimeter of the property, as it was a campus, a more built-up campus at one point in time. And in response to that, we have also added some single-family homes around the perimeter of the property in order to reestablish that campus-like feel. So in total, the proposal before you tonight is for relief on a number of public benefits, as outlined in your packet, for 85 apartments, approximately 85 apartments, and approximately 6 single-family homes. The 6 family homes are not, to be clear, actually part of the 79E relief we are seeking, though they are part of the proposed project. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions. I do also have a summary of this, I should hand it to you at the same time. That sort of breaks down the calculations for the prior relief granted and the relief that was being sought in the current packet, which you can walk me through, but I actually don't have the sufficient copies for it.
In summary, the relief requested before you, you've got it at the table, but I can speak to it when Paul's handing it out. The 790 statute allows for varying degrees of relief, and so our previous one we've now tossed out because we're not saving the science building, but the creation, so what we're doing now is that in the seminary building, there's 790 allows a base period of 5 years, creation of housing an extra 2 years, creation of affordable housing, which we're proposing an extra 2 years, and historic renovation 4 years, for a total ask of 13 years. And the science building, according to the statute, has all of those except for the historic renovation, which would be 9 years. So that's what's sort of before you in our current ask, which was 13 years on the seminary and 9 years on the science building. And as Paul indicated, the property tax bonus since the last application is the addition of the single-family homes, which would not be part of the 790 relief, that we would build in the very first phase of the project, and presumably have these 5 or 6 homes on the tax rolls immediately, where the community would go from currently getting $0 in tax revenue to, what did we assume, maybe
45 to 50.
$40,000 to $50,000 in tax revenue from the new homes, and around $10,000 in tax revenue from the base assessment of the property that we acquired from the school. So that is the application before you, and we're here to discuss it and answer any questions.
What's the estimated value on the houses? Sell value?
55.
450, 500?
Bill, you wanna talk, present?
Yeah, so I've done quite a bit of research on the RSA 79E Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive. I think one of the big things that was discussed at the last hearing was the fact, taxes. It's really, taxes are the instrument to incentivize people to bring their development to a downtown area. And I think the biggest thing to focus on is the intent of the tax relief. And that is, what is the public benefit? And so, public benefits, as laid out in 79A, or to benefit downtown economic vitality, improves a culturally or historically important structure, promotes downtown development, or increases downtown housing. So not only does this meet one of the criteria, it meets all four of the criteria. The project as proposed would be, I guess people fail to realize that this has been almost 17 years since anybody's even occupied these buildings and had anything going on there. And as much as I love the people coming to pick up their kids from school, I don't think they're really bringing much economic benefit to the downtown area as they zoom in and out. So, as far as the public benefit, I don't think that's really up for debate. I think this will take care of a building that we all want to see saved, has been reaffirmed by numerous votes of the town, and this really is just hammering out the details. One thing I'd like to bring up is, in my research, there is a provision in the 79E statute that allows for termination of this tax benefit. So should there be a point where we feel that Mr. Chinberg and his company are not fulfilling their obligation, we hold a hearing similar to this one, and it can be revoked at that time. So I don't feel that that's going to be a problem. Previously, when these discussions initially started, everybody on this board took a town he had done work in and got check references, and they were all glowing. So I don't feel that that's going to be a problem, but I do think that should be made aware to the public that that is an option that we have should this not work out the way we want. So with that being said, I would make a motion that we enact the 79E Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive for the assessment of $500,000 with the stipulation that all of the low-income housing would be given priority to Kingston employees. Additionally, an escrow account will be established for the architectural historian to ensure that all preservation work are done in accordance with necessary guidelines. Additionally, the term of the tax relief would be for a period of 9 years for the science building renovation, and then a further 2 years to bring it to 11 for the seminary building. At the 9-year mark, the remaining valuation would be at $500,000 for the seminary property for the remaining 2 years.
Second. Oh, I'll second that, please.
So, can we do a quick comment?
Well, we gotta finish.
Yes.
She seconded.
Oh, sorry. So, in that structure, which I think we are amenable to, the tax relief we are seeking was for 13 years, and that's 2 years, in my read of the ordinance, that's 2 years for different segments of public benefit in addition to the base 4 that you described, which would be the creation of affordable housing and historic renovation. And so if 11 years is granted for the seminary building, understanding how that 11 years is being calculated is useful because we, in our prior application, were granted 2 of the 4 years eligible for historic renovation because we weren't offering to renovate to the National Park Service standard, which is sort of the gold standard. So it was deemed not meeting the maximum of public benefits and the maximum relief wasn't granted. So we're amenable to the structure, but I think we would be wary of taking on the additional cost and risk associated with the higher historical standard if we're not getting the proportionate relief.
And I think that that sort of speaks to the fact that the Secretary of the Interior, if that's the standard, they govern inside and outside. And our application was specifically to make sure the outside substantially conformed to the Secretary's standards. So to us, it's just an important clarification. The Secretary's standards, if were applied to the inside of the building, would be debilitating to the project. And we've said that from day one. We just want to make sure it's clear in the whatever you are considering to approve.
We're all about looks here. We're very vain people. We don't care what it looks like inside, just the outside.
I would say I don't care about what it looks like, but I don't see the historic value to you to try and preserve the inside. I'm okay with the outside.
I think given the condition of the interior, it is not a realistic expectation for the historical standard to be preserved on the interior.
I guess, not to get too lost in the weeds, but the 11-year, how is that being arrived at? Is that, are you assuming the four years for the historic and no years for the affordable component?
I believe the initial application was for 9 years and 13 years, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And so this is just a compromise in that, given that the initial agreement was, I believe, for around 50 units in the science building.
Right.
And so this, we feel, reflects the addition of those more.
Fair enough, I get that. There is one little caveat that we've recently discovered as it relates to the exterior. And we've just recently been handed a ruling from the Secretary of the Interior on another project where their interpretation of roofing was scary to us based on the fact that that's a slate roof. We want to save the slate roof if it's possible. The Secretary's standards would probably require it. And if we can't patch and replace and have to replace it, it's like $250,000. So that goes back to all along, we've said we want the exterior to substantially comply to the Secretary's standards. And we had another project before the latest reviewer in Washington, D.C., where they allowed us to do, we couldn't save the slate, and they allowed us to do these heavy-duty 50-year asphalt shingles that look like slate. And that was acceptable a few years ago, and in the current regime, it's not been accepted, which we just discovered. So it gets back to our earlier ask that it substantially comply, and that is our main little nuance on that extra compromise.
Over at Phillips Exeter, they just redid a couple of roofs that was plastic, and you would never know that it's not slate. So I don't see a problem. I'm sure you're going to try and save what you can.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's Phillips Exeter redid some roofs that, you know, it's just the work. You just can't do it anymore. But it was, you wouldn't even know driving by.
So the key phrase for you then would be that it substantially restores the roof.
Complies. And if this board agrees with substantial, knowing that you're all reasonable people, then we're okay with that. Because the bottom line is, when someone drives by from the street or is in the outside, they're going to think it looks like it was when it was built. So, and that's what we mean by substantially comply.
You mean there's someone around still?
Well, I would kind of assume that if you run into any hiccups along the way, that you'll approach us and say, we've come into this issue and
That's right.
need to change accordingly.
I would propose that we should a workaround be necessary. We still have a 79E committee who is aware of the property, and it would be brought to them first for review, and then brought to this board. Would that be a memo?
Yes.
Because that's the one we know about right now. I'm sure
As far as the exterior, that's really the main thing.
Public hearing, anybody from the public want to comment? Speak up loud, state your name.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's Rick Russman, and I followed the Shinberg Builders for a number of years. They do quality work, and people know that I tend to favor open space at the same time, but quality development here in Kingston is so important, especially there. And I think they routinely have built Energy Star rated homes when they haven't had to. And I think that speaks highly of them as well as far as what their mode of operation is. So I think that if you have to err, I'd err on the side of caution and helping these guys out to try to get the thing done as best we can. So I certainly support it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Unanimously.
Thank you all very much.
Welcome to
Thank
Kingston.
you.
All right, we're excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Done yet?
We're just getting started.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jesus.
Public comment number one. Seeing none, committee liaison reports.
Sure.
We need to close the public hearing and go back to the regular meeting.
Close public hearing, go back to the others. Somebody want to make a motion?
Thanks. So moved.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I gotta duck down to the trustees meeting. Okay.
You have any liaison reports?
I do not.
Okay.
I met with Chief Graham, Tammy, Nikki, our town clerk, and Lisa Perot from the Highway Department to start an initial process in reviewing areas of our employee benefit package that we'd like to upgrade. And I want to point out, I want to tell you about the 4 areas we're looking at to make sure that we're heading in the right direction before we start doing all the legwork that goes with it. We want to implement earn time on the payroll package so that we automatically, when you're hired, you already start earning time for vacation within the normal ream of things. We also want to implement a sick bank program whereby an employee can donate 2-3 days a year to a sick bank for a fellow or another employee who has terminal, or who has a serious illness and needs additional sick days off. We also want to put in a program, initiative for education initiatives, so that if an individual gets extra training, whether it be in leadership skills or, and I don't mean just the fire department, the police, they're going to have training anyways, but these are areas of education above and beyond that would enhance their abilities to perform their duties, and also, it would also be tied into pay increase down the road as they get better trained in what they're doing.
Is that for,
What's that?
is that particular part of it to help pay for some of the courses that they
Yes, I
take?
mean, we offer a reimbursement as it is. These are just the broad areas we're gonna look at. We don't have the details at all worked out. We've got a lot of work ahead of us to do that, but we want to be sure that us as a board, this is the areas where we think we can improve the benefit package for our employees to help in retention and in promotion. And the other area was a longevity clause. We have some employees that have been with us for 30, 40 years, and a raise is not, a 3% raise is sufficient in one hand, but their longevity here should be recognized on the other. So those are the 4 main areas that we'd like to explore. We do want to bring this up at the department head meeting next week in case there are other suggestions from department heads for ways that can benefit their employees. So that's basically it. We're meeting again tomorrow. Cindy's been on vacation the last 2 weeks, but we're going to have the next meeting tomorrow and then have her come join us in our sessions to work along with us. I got a note from the fire chief. The ambulance number 2 needed exhaust work. It's pretty expensive. He's hoping it doesn't come in at $24.52.58, which was the quote. But he said he will keep us advised of what happens there. And also, we're 99% sure that we're getting a $47,000 grant that was spearheaded by Kelly, his admin. The grant would be for a hollow stretcher and CPR machine.
How much?
$47,000. Right, he said he'll notify us when it's official, it's not
Well, if they
official.
add that to our job classification, right.
Yeah, we should add that in there. And that's basically for public session.
If I could just touch on what Ellie said, which you said, we talked before incentivizing employees and everything else. I just want people to understand the earn pay is going to drastically change the personnel policy. We want to make sure if we start looking at that direction, everyone's on board with it, because there'll be no more vacation, personal, sick. It'll all be earned time. But I wish Phil was here, but is everyone on board with that before? Because it's going to change.
That's what most companies have now, is the.
It is, but it's a change, and we just want to make sure before we do the legwork, as you said, because we're going to research all of the towns and everything else and bring something comparable, but we want to make sure that's the way the board wants to go.
And I'll give the list again on Monday to the department heads, because I feel strongly that they should know what we're doing with this group, because we're pretty well representative, but they may have other ideas that would be good for their particular staff. Something that might work in the highway department might not work in the police department. So I want them to hear about it. And I want the employees to know that we're looking at this. I mean, they may come up with some other ideas and be helpful and want some input in the long run. So it's not going to happen overnight, but we need to start the ball rolling at this point. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I didn't have anything. It's been fairly quiet.
Chuck, you have anything?
No, no budget committee.
I've got stained glass committee. We're gonna send out things for the estimates next couple of weeks for the stained glass windows. Gonna probably have pricing by the end of June. Pretty good time frame. And go from there. It is a fundraiser, and anybody that's interested can call Ernie or me, and we'll get you an application and you can write a check.
But we don't know how much for yet, though, right?
Well, you can write it for as much as you want to. We'll figure out how to spend it. We do have something here that the, trying to see who the group is. Heritage Investment Program is sending $250 to the town for a monitoring incentive award. And I think the Heritage has requested it to be donated into their account. This is to basically maintain and write the reports that have to be done on the bandstand. So I'll take a motion to accept $250 on that.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
What reports have to be written on the bandstand?
We have to write reports every year for how long?
5 years.
5 years?
We got another year on it. Basically, it's called a conservation easement program, where we have to monitor the bandstand, do a report to show them that we're maintaining it in the condition that it was when we finally repaired it and received the grant from them. So, based on the amount of money that's spent, it can either be 5 years or 20 years or whatever. But for us, because of the amount of money we spent, they gave us for the bandstand was only 5 years.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Liaison reports. Susan copied the dog park minutes that people wanted. And then he's willing to come in July 11th, if that works for everybody.
Yeah,
Seems like a long time, but
I'm still curious what the original agreement was. Were you able to find that at all?
I've asked them, and he was gonna talk to another woman on the board and try to get that to me. I haven't heard back, but I'll follow up.
I was kind of puzzled that a guy Newton's running the Kingston Dog Park.
But it's kind of regional park.
Yeah, I know.
I knew that. I knew it was definitely.
But if it's a Newton dog, they charge him more, so.
Maybe.
Well, that's what it says.
And actually, it's interesting, it's incredible what you forget, but yes, I remember talking about laying the wrap down, and Rich Stanley was on board with that. We're not paving it, we're just putting wrap down, because I believe there's a Mount Vesuvius over off of Foley Brook, because we got complaints about that a few years
Yeah.
ago.
So basically, if you haven't been following this, it's kind of a checks and balance that we're bringing the dog park in because there has not been a lot of monitoring going on. They do collect funds, they do spend funds, and we just kind of want to check it and see what's going on. I wasn't going to go that far.
Okay.
And there's a thing in here. So is everybody okay with July 11th?
Sure.
Give us time to research and everything. Tucker Road says information on road classification in packets, and I don't see it.
Yeah, there's something saying it was GPS says it's a
I have an
cul-de-sac.
extra one if you need it.
Who's this?
Probably that one. It's just information. I wasn't sure that this is for you exactly, but they've been waiting for that classification to be changed, and last I knew Rich was waiting for the state.
Okay.
We don't have Rich here, do we?
Unfortunately, Rich isn't here and just got back in town today, so we will run this by him. Hopefully we can get it to him tomorrow and he can respond to tomorrow night because I understand you're going to the planning board tomorrow night. Okay. Can you make sure Rich gets it tomorrow, Susan, since I'll be gone?
So, and Chuck, you're gonna be at the planning board tomorrow night, so if you could let Chuck know, Susan,
Okay.
that way he can convey that information to the planning board.
I'm really surprised Rich isn't here to talk about,
He probably is exhausted.
yeah.
Let's drive back.
With the highway grant, it says Phil has info, so we'll come back to that. Right, with the highway agent description. With budget versus expenditures in the packet.
I just thought that I had seen it, and I know in the past, we have been asking Cindy to keep the selectmen updated on expenses and all that, so, I did do a little inventory with it, and, basically, the revenue, if it stays online the way it is now, will be in excellent shape, because it's the first quarter, it's January, February, March, and 704,000, if you did that times 4, it's 2.8 or something. So if it stays on there, it'll be good. The only major thing that is on here, as we all want to talk about, is the heat and services and electric. For instance, the government building, the town buildings, budgeted $20,400. It's already at in the first quarter, $12,460. Now, it says heat and service. I don't know if there's a $3,000 service call in there that would bring that up, but, so that's something that, again, down the road, probably not too long after maybe the next quarter, we're gonna have to figure out
Where we're gonna get it.
what we're gonna do with that. And if we look at, the utilities, electric, it's 4,200 so far, and they budgeted 18, so again, doing the math on that, you have a little there. And obviously with the summer coming, the heating is going to be less, electric will be up,
But the air conditioning's gonna be more.
with the AC. Gasoline is at 16,000, we budgeted the 80, so that doesn't seem to be, for the first quarter, too bad, and if it stays consistent, we'll be okay with it. And we've asked them to cut back a little bit if they can. Police department, Electric bill is 1,400, we budgeted 8,000, so again, that seems to be in line, we're okay. The heat's at 1,565 already, first quarter, and we only budgeted 4,000. So again, and they have central air there now, right? At the police station? They have central air at the police
I
station?
think so, yes.
So again, that's probably going to be, and the same with the fire department. The electric is 5,800 so far, budgeted for 15. That may be close.
They're gonna change, it's gonna change over because they're moving in July 1, right?
Right. The thing that, on the heat, they've used 12,426 already. We budgeted 15. Now, what I can gather a little bit of knowledge that I have with it is that this heat is for the both buildings, has been for the both buildings. The propane tanks have been put in, they've got to be filled with whatever the rate is, but I believe they're going to use impact fees for that, to try to get those tanks filled with as much as we can, because it's...
And we have a locked-in rate on propane anyways.
Right, so it just, but rather than 4,000 gallons or whatever it's going to take at $2.50 a gallon. So that'll come out of the impact fees. But it is all, highway department, electricity is 1,100, but they budgeted 6,000. The heat's at 3,100, they budgeted 8, so again, doing it by the quarter. And we'd anticipate the summer to be down. Street lighting on the positive end, the first quarter for street lighting was 6,200, and we dropped that down from the 32 to the 26. So again, if you're doing up the math, we ought to be right where we need to be with that at 26. And that was it. Everything else is, within reason of what we would expect. So, as you guys had predicted, the heat and the electric looked at. So,
I did forget under liaison reports. I'm gonna get together with Rich to I did have a conversation with the business agent over at the high school. I mean, Matt. He would be willing to look at doing bulk buying for the oil. That it's under the stipulation to be a small truck, but they would give us a price. He goes out July, August. So he sent me an email looking for how many tanks we got and where they're located. So I was going to get that from Rich and at least get a price that way. It seems like the other way we were doing it really is questionable, and and I think we get a better volume with the school than we would how we do it before.
We probably would get a little bit higher price than they do because they have more deliveries, is that correct?
They get a bigger load, but at
Right,
least
because
they
they
come
have
with
bigger
the town.
tanks, right,
Yeah.
right.
I think this is the only building on oil now. I think everything else is propane, maybe the library.
I was going to check with Rich anyways, that's all. I'm just going to follow up and we'll do it that way, figure out whatever's real.
One other thing I ought to probably mention too is that the town clerk's office is on a last 2-week push for dog license. We still have over 500 dogs that have not been licensed.
Oh my God.
And the rabies clinic went off Saturday with success. So it's a big help to a lot of people that, let's see if there's anything else that we can do.
Rich, on this thing you signed, it was the notice to excavate. Did you go and check it out?
No, I called them and they never called me back.
I signed it by mistake and then I realized.
That's a different thing. First
Oh,
one's
this is
an intent to cut, that's an intent for gravel that they have to do every year.
Okay, all right, so this is okay to sign?
Yeah, that's
all right,
okay.
all right.
So we just put full stuff
I think we've got Phil's. Things in the orange packet. We're gonna talk about the highway agent under non-public or public.
It's only the description.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We wanna go over with you.
Yeah, what I think it was okay. I just want to change, like I said, this town of Stratham had a better description on the top part. Our supervisor exercise was better. What I wanted to say was I thought we should have included there, there was one that listed responsible for managing stormwater system in accordance with EPA MS4 regulations. I think that should still stay there for now.
Yeah, that may eventually move out, but yes.
It may,
for
but
now.
just that sentence should be in there. And then I also thought cemetery and sexton should move in, and that would save the town. I think they'll have to hire a person, whether it be part-time or full-time. We'll let the agent decide, but that'll alleviate the bidding contract going out every year for the maintain the cemeteries, the sexton, because the records really shouldn't be with a part-time person. It should be with the admin assistant, all digitized and kept track of that way.
I don't have a problem with that. It makes sense to bring it in-house
Right.
at this point, yeah.
And what we decide the mowing contract was, like 15,000?
It's up to 26 this year, 28, I think.
He budgeted for 24,
Okay.
but he didn't have a contract back then, so I don't know whether he has one or how they're doing it.
And to be honest, it's getting harder and harder to find someone to do that contract.
And
So
it's a major job.
Right, so it may be, just do it, find someone to do per cutting, and for this point, till all of this gets squared away, as to how we, if it's integrated or not integrated.
which brings me to the next point. I don't know if you found anyone, but Memorial Day is coming up, and we got flack last year.
Because it wasn't ready.
I thought they renewed with the person from last year. I thought it came up recently that they were gonna renew with the same person that was mowing last year, but.
I don't know.
If they're going to, we need to do it a month to month or something, or maybe there's an escape clause.
I'll call Brad, see what's going on.
Well, I don't have a problem doing a year.
Yeah.
A year contract, and then, because it's gonna take us time to
Right,
get,
by the time we do all this.
yeah, and plan for next year,
Okay.
but add in the description.
Yeah,
And I didn't see anything else. The fields and cemeteries and sexton, and just listen to this. Oh, the only other thing,
What about the buildings? We were talking about taking that away and giving it to Tom?
I don't think it really delineates. I think we'll have to decide. You want Tom to do a dotted line reporting to him?
Yeah.
he does
And then-
now anyways, right?
Break that job description will have to come
Okay.
up, what's in buildings. But the only thing is, in the job description it's saying now on, I'll just say it, it's bullet 6, it's supervised highway employee, it doesn't mention discipline. And all the other, I think he should be in charge of discipline his employees.
I think that's in his contract, so we have to look at his contract. I
Correct.
think we
I
put it
think
in
it
there,
is.
he could discipline.
It is in his contract.
If we're doing,
Any major items came to us, but
yeah, but it's not in the job description, and it's part of it, he has to discipline the
Yeah.
employees. But that's what I had for edits.
My only thought with that is that if we're looking for a DPW person, a road agent, that's what we decide to do, to be able to integrate some of these things into it. But at the same time, why don't we hire a road agent, highway department person? Get the person online with them, and that's the main qualifications is to take care of the roads and maintain the roads and all the time stuff. And then, once that person's hired, decide how if we're gonna integrate the cemeteries, or we're gonna integrate the different things into it, and work on that after the fact, rather than trying to, I don't wanna say
I
rush
think
into
you'll
it.
find that most of the people that apply are in other towns are already doing this stuff,
Okay.
that we're a little bit behind schedule on.
And it's not that it's not a good idea, I agree that,
I don't see hiring someone.
and
I don't see a real problem with the transition to including that with the new job description. Because
I can't see us hiring someone, then changing the job description on
Right.
after we hire them. You gotta put it, you have to have the job description first. And the whole reason we're changing this, short of those couple of tweaks, is Rich's job is not road agent anymore. He is doing all this stuff. So it's like, you can't call a road agent, because he's really not. He's doing so much more.
And of course, now whomever the person is will have a full-time secretary who, from scheduling and all of the other things that Rich just, you know, didn't have the time or the whatever to do all that. At least now a lot of that will be able to be done by the person in the office.
All right, the only other thing I see on here is the thing about the grant.
So we need Phil for that, right?
Yeah, we need Phil. Public comment number 2. Do I have a comment?
What's this grant thing?
I guess it's a grant to do the culvert under the road there.
Oh, yeah, there was the thing he was texting about, but, yeah, we'll have to talk to him, but I don't think I'm pretty sure we applied for it, we didn't get it.
Oh, I thought thought it was there, that we had to accept it and we had to do
According
some
to-
stuff.
According to the note that's in there, that before it was 75% the state was gonna reimburse. Now the state's gonna reimburse 90%. That's at a, what, $1.2 million project.
Yeah, basically he was saying we need to go after it and we need to
And we need
lock
to
it
go
in.
after it now. I mean, from what I read from Rich's
He
thing.
texted me on something else then.
Yeah.
So
He
you
did send a text out from Florida that said, we missed all that, maybe we don't. That
Oh, yeah.
Rich time is of the essence, that he's just heard that this new grant's coming out, and it's probably due to transportation money that they're getting, but they're gonna reimburse 90% of the cost.
So it's basically a thing we need to do,
So how about we just authorize Rich to apply and
negotiate accordingly.
Yeah, I
and we
mean,
figure out-
if we get it, great, we can worry about it. If we don't get it, didn't get it before, or before where it was only 75%.
Right.
That's a lot of money to have to come up with
Mhm.
there, but
Okay. Anybody have anything else? I'll just make one comment. We are getting police chief applications already. Yeah. Ran it, started it Thursday, I think. Had one Friday and several this week.
What do we do with them? Are they going to them or where are they going?
Coming here and
You're
they're
just,
gonna.
I'm just
so
saving.
everything's by email?
What's that?
Everything's by email? The application, I mean, filling the stuff out, I don't,
Yeah.
I know that's how they do it today.
That's-
Whatever.
We're talking about
You
the
don't
grant, the information you had.
Okay, so, the town had done a contract with CMA engineers for all this to be drawn up already. All the work's done. It's just the grant needs to be written. So it was just basically giving Rich the green light to proceed on that.
Which we just did.
Okay. They already told me on Thursday, I was like, might as well
Yeah. I mean, how are we gonna turn
Yeah.
grant?
Yeah, I guess the thing I couldn't remember, and I don't know if you were on the board then, Andrea Kenter did a grant for us, wrote a grant for us, we didn't get the grant, but we may have the grant already written, or at least we can cherry pick from it.
I didn't find anything in the minutes so far. I'll go forward a little. What I did find was the part about the CMA.
I couldn't remember whether it was for the PFAS or it was for the culverts. I remember we sat down with her.
Yeah, it was definitely the culvert.
It was the culvert? Okay.
Because basically, yeah, I don't know if it was the whole project or just the bridge that we were trying to get done, so. Is Rich back?
Yes.
Okay, I'll link up with him tomorrow.
He drove straight through, so he's probably home sleeping now.
I'll link up with him and, get his recollection on Rick left.
And this will be the third major thing that we've got. We did the New Boston Road Bridge, we did the Ball Road culvert,
And North Road.
and North Road, that's right, I forgot about that one, so it's.
Rich said basically this is the last one on his list, so
That's good.
pretty much have that taken care of.
So anybody have anything else?
Well, just looking at this, there's a Sanborn High School parade, graduation parade.
Yeah.
And nobody says is that doable and not doable?
Yeah,
No?
they do it every year, it's just
Okay.
kind of a formality that they send that in.
Okay, nobody had signed it, that's what I was just.
And the other thing in there was the church use, the congregation
Yeah.
church using the,
Yeah, the planes
Question
for
on
National
absentee,
Day
if you
Trail.
want to charge them or if we, you know, consider that local.
We charge them for their sunrise service.
We did.
So the answer is yes, we charge.
I think because we set up the fee, there's a nonprofit fee, there's the for-profit fee, there's the town
So
fee, the
however
non-town fee.
they fall into it, we charge accordingly. Anybody have anything else? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I think, oh, we got one non-public?
Do we?
Yeah, we have a personnel issue that from the initial non-public session.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
I forgot about that. So I'll take a motion to go into non-public.
Yeah,
So moved.
second.
Roll call vote.
Alessio? Coombs?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
St. James?
Yes.
And Liz?
Yes.
I'm gonna put you.
That'll conclude our meeting for April 18th, I think it is. At 7:55. Thank you for joining us.